The infamous, fearless, unbreakable, real-life narcos legend, Mr. Roger Reaves.
DEA couldn't catch me, so they tried to kill me. So they had me tortured in a Mexican prison.
Plane survived 80 bullets.
How did I live through it? It's a miracle that I lived through it. If you don't stay with your marijuana, you may get something you don't want.
Oh.
Two things that stretch me out. He starts pushing hot chili peppers up my rectum.
What the fuck?
I don't like to talk ugly, but I was looking for new words.
Pablo Escobar comes into the room to meet you.
He said, we have all the work you can do. Yeah, I said, how often? He says, as often as you want to. We're waiting on you, senor. That was his words.
What was the craziest experience you had with him and the cartel?
I'm just laying about to doze off, and I just sitting there thinking, pow, right at my ear, and blood spattered all on that book. I know some got on me. So,
Ladies and gentlemen, today's episode is brought to you by I Wanna Gummies. Now, before you skip this ad, give me 30 seconds because this won't take long. I Wanna Gummies are the world's first gummy bear brand that has infused vitamins to help you wake up, relax, focus, and sleep. These are hyper effective gummy bears. They are going viral and they are selling out every day. And not only that, if you use the code LIAMC at checkout, you will get a massive 40% off discount. And as if that was not good enough, they are the first gummy bear company on earth who put their money where your mouth is. Meaning you can try $200 worth of gummy bears for just $25. That's $200 worth of gummy bears, beautiful experience box. You don't have to pay $200. You can try them all for $25 and you can see how good they are for yourself. So thank you, I Wanna Gummies, for sponsoring this episode. Back to the podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Unbreakable Podcast, where we talk about money, motivation, mindset, and inspiring stories from interesting people. Now, I've been freewheeling these introductions lately. However, today's guest, Mr. Roger Reaves, is so interesting and nuanced in his stories, and there are so many of them, that if I tried to wing this, I'd be here all day. So I actually pre-written one. Roger, is it okay if I pre-read this for you?
please do.
I'm also running on 3 hours sleep, so I don't want to stuff this up. So here we go, ladies and gentlemen. And you tell me what you think it is. Today's guest is a man whose life reads like a Hollywood movie, except that it is all true. He has been called the real-life narcos legend. He has flown over 1,000 drug smuggling flights for the Medellín Cartel. He worked with Pablo Escobar. He escaped prison multiple times. He has been shot, tortured, and even left for dead. But he is also a father, a pilot, and a man with one hell of a story to tell. Joining me today is the infamous, fearless, unbreakable, and shockingly humble Mr. Roger Reaves. Roger, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much, sir.
Now, two things. We've got two sponsors for today. One is called I Wanna Gummies. They will help you wake up, recover, relax, and sleep. They're vitamin gummy bears. We're going to put a link in the bio. Also, Roger Reaves, a good friend of the show, Mr. Josh Snow. He's got a really successful teeth whitening brand. Now, the gummies company is going to send you and your beautiful wife $1,000 worth of gummies, nice vitamin gummy bears.
And what do we do with them?
So you eat them in the morning to wake up, and you eat them in the bed to go to sleep. So whatever. So they're called I Wanna Gummies. So whatever you want to do, you eat the bottle. That's why they called it that. And the other one is Snow. So Josh has a really successful brand with teeth whitening products. This is the Diamond Series dissolving teeth whitening strips. So this is a little gift for you. Teeth whitening strips.
Now, what is in that thing? I'm scared of stuff.
Oh, it'll give you the most beautiful.
Like
it'll give you the most beautiful teeth on earth. So that's a little gift for you. But we've got a bigger pack behind the scenes. So the team will get the gummies and all the teeth whitening products sent out. So that's a shout out to today's sponsor. However, most importantly, thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you, and thank you, Mr. Snow, for my gift.
Yes, you're welcome. So yeah, this is one of those interesting ones where it's like, I mean, I could sit and talk to you for days, to be honest. And it is quite a privilege to have you here, and I do thank you so much for your time. You know, having spoke to you on the phone, you're possibly one of the most mild-mannered gentlemen I've ever spoke to. Humble, polite, just a pleasure to talk to. And I think, like, you know, if we'd bumped into each other at a bar, I would have no idea the backstory. And bro, what you have been through, my God. So I thought about this long and hard. There's many places we can start. So I've got a few that I want to cover. And I think we'll just go back and forth and cherry pick a few stories because, you know, as we said on the phone, my job's really just to capture a small piece of your legacy and your life story. And I'm going to put this out into the world so that 100 years from now, anyone who wants to know who you were as a person, we're going to capture that aura and that essence. So we're going to bounce around a little bit. And, you know, my only goal is to preserve a piece of this story. And if I do it well, 100 years from now, I think people will be very captivated, entertained, and mostly impressed. So thank you so much for being here. Now, we're talking out the front about how, and I rarely start from the beginning, but we will this time because we were talking out the front about was it your uncle who got charged with murder?
My grandfather.
Your grandfather got charged with murder, pardon me.
Yeah, convicted, not only charged.
Well, I mean...
It wasn't no doubt.
Yeah, so for people that don't know, Roger's grandfather shot someone in a court.
Yes,
so there wasn't
trial.
much ambiguity around that. So for people that don't know, why don't we start with a light-hearted story about your grandfather shooting someone dead in a courtroom?
I don't know what they took him to court for, but...
was it in the courtroom?
It was in the courtroom during the trial.
During the trial?
Yes. And I guess there'd been bad blood brewing by him and a guy named Woods in McRae, Georgia, in the Telfair County Courthouse. And from what the transcripts say, that Woods got up and told his side of the story, and my grandfather got up, and Woods pointed a finger at him and said, "You're a goddamn liar." And he reached in back and pulled out the Webley .38 and shot him twice through the heart. Went plumb through him.
In the courthouse?
In the courthouse, and lodged in the door over there. You can still see the spots where the bullets were dug out. And he walked over with that pistol and put it on the judge's desk of the podium, and the judge said, "Reaves, I believe you've killed him." He said, "I hope the hell he's dead." So he was cool about it. And I don't know what he was, but my mother said that if I got any sense, I got it from that old man. My father, he died the year I was born. He could add up all the numbers on the freight train on the boxcars as it came by.
Really?
Well, some people can just do stuff like that. So yes, he served, got 15 years, hard labor. Reedsville Penitentiary was a rough place. And he became the bookkeeper, and he went blind with cataracts, and they did experimental surgery and blinded him, and the governor let him free.
Was that because they
blinded him, made a mistake.
Negligence, basically.
Yes,
right.
Or maybe it was just experimental.
After 15 years?
After 3 years, he got
3
out.
years.
Yeah, and he taught school the rest of his life blind.
Really?
And my grandma was there to help him. They had to make a living somewhere in them woods.
And this was in 1912, I believe.
About that, yes.
Yep.
Uh-huh.
So, yeah, you've got some interesting types in your family.
Oh, yeah.
It's
some of them were
quite
hung, and
diverse
some of them
family.
swam the river and was scalped. Some of them were scalped. My uncle was scalped by an
Pardon
Indian.
me?
Yes, he was a boy, and they caught him across the river in the Indian part, and they held him down and scalped him. They didn't kill him, and said he got an arrow in his arm, and he broke, and he swam back across the Okmulgee River on one hand, and he said the only way he made it was when that cold water would hit that scalped head, it would make him alive. And
How old was he when this happened?
About 15 years old. And his daddy and his uncle said the only thing they had for Indian was lead and powder. And they went back over there, and there was 3 of them that scalped him, and they found him. They tracked him down, and they was around their little camp or whatever, and so they slipped up, and both of them fired. And my uncle told me, one of them said, "You missed," and he said, "No, I didn't miss." "Yeah, you did. Only one of them fell." So he said, "If you don't have a hole 1 inch below his left ear, he's yourn."
Wow.
So they went up there, there's a hole 1 inch below the left end. He said, "But I didn't mind. The other one's head was about half blown off from the back."
Did he survive the scalping?
Yeah, he survived.
What happens to the head after you survive being scalped?
It just takes the skin off, and you're up there, and you stay bald the rest of your life.
You know what's fascinating?
Anyhow, these just in my history.
Yeah, I'm fascinated by all these.
And my grandma took there was a snitch, and somebody got killed, or he was, I believe he did kill somebody, acting as part of a posse, and he killed his uncle. And then he fled from the Garrison side of the family, and he went out to Mississippi. This is way back yonder, and he got married and had a child. And after 8 years, he thought it was safe for him to come back, So he came back on Christmas to see his family, and he went to Blockhouse Church where we all go. And my grandma said, "Well, give me that baby." And after they came out, and as soon as she took the baby, a shot rang out, and a ball went through his heart and killed him right on the steps of the church.
Really?
And so, so that fella got a head deposit and got away to Mexico.
A head deposit?
Yeah, there's some of them in the family. I went into those places and filmed them recently.
Yep. Yeah, because you've so for people that don't know, you've kind of been on like a little bit of a tour, enjoying I'm going to call this the peaceful chapter of your life.
Absolutely.
Because I mean, for people who don't know, right now you've got the calm energy, you've got your beautiful wife here with you. You guys are traveling around, and you were showing me like you're visiting places from your history.
Yes.
You know, you told me you visited the courthouse where your uncle shot that guy dead. You visited the grave of Barry Seal. Like, you seem to be enjoying life right now.
Yes.
That's beautiful
Very
to
much
see.
so, yes.
Got your beautiful grandchildren.
Beautiful.
I'm not going to give away the multi-million-dollar business that you're working on. Can I do that?
Certainly you can.
Do you want to do it, or do you want me to do it?
Well, you can, but
Do you know what I'm talking about?
Well, you can talk about it. You can demonstrate. You can demonstrate it if you want to.
I don't even know if I should. Should I or not?
Of course you should.
So
you're
Roger's just
going to
inventing
embarrass my boy, but
Roger's
it's all right.
inventing a prop dick.
A prosthesis.
That's right. Which could be used for all types of purposes.
Oh, absolutely.
You know?
It's a sex toy.
Exactly. You never know when you're going to need a fake dick.
And they got 12 colors, and they just, after somebody's answering the phone, say, "What color is your dick? And what's your credit card
So you
number?"
get like a dick concierge, basically.
Absolutely.
Like a dick consultant. You buy one, what size you want, what color you want. And then
No size. They're all little rubber ones. They look just really real.
Yeah, so people don't know that you're an entrepreneur. This is a breaking piece of news. But no, listen, it's good that you guys are enjoying this chapter. I think after everything you've gone through, you deserve some peace. But for the audience,
We better not leave that off. Somebody just think it's a secret.
Yeah.
He makes a pee-pee also.
Yeah.
It fits in it that goes pee-pee. So if somebody wants to have a drug test, or for any test,
yeah,
he just pulls that little thing out and it pees a cup full of warm pee.
that is
It's called the Whizzinator. Like you go take a whiz.
legit.
Yes.
That is so funny. I want to get one just for memorabilia. Really, I don't know how to explain it to my girlfriend.
You can buy one. I'll send you one.
Okay, fine. I'll put it on the shelf.
Yeah, you get all kinds of skin colors. You can strap it on you.
All right, get me a big one because it's got to be authentic, right? it's got to be true to form. Let's be
All
real.
right, well, okay.
So for people that don't know, I mean, there are so many things we could cover, and I've got a good idea of how I want to chop this up. But I mean, so your stories from your childhood in it was Georgia. That's correct. I mean, there's a whole bunch of those we could cover. There's also the chapter. So I like to break people's stories down into chapters. So you've got the chapter where you started flying marijuana over the border, and then that obviously progressed into the chapter where you met Mr. Barry Seal, who they made the movie American Made about, and then that led you to South America, and you ended up working with. For people who are familiar with narcos, I pronounced it wrong before, but so you had at that time the two major cartels were the Ochoas and the Medellín Cartel.
They were part of that.
Yeah,
the Ochoas was probably the leaders of it.
Oh, of the Medellín?
Yeah, they were Medellín.
Before Pablo, right?
They were all together.
That's right.
5 of them got together.
Correct. So, and correct me if I'm wrong, you had involvement with all or most of those cartels at that point in time?
No, that was just one cartel.
Yep.
With Pablo Escobar and the 3 Ochoa brothers.
Correct.
And you had Gacho, and you had that German guy, I forget what his name is.
Yep.
There was 5 of them, and that was what that was. Let me explain
Please.
How that came about.
The meeting with the first cartel, the Ochoas. Is that the one you're talking about?
Ochoa was probably the brains behind this whole thing, Jorge Ochoa.
Right.
And
So
his father.
this is how you met them for the first time.
Okay, that's a little bit longer.
Which is the one? Tell me which is the one you're thinking of.
Well, there's only one. I'm just tell you how.
Okay, please.
I'll just tell you why it formed. And I was there when it formed. I got blood spattered on me.
Dead set.
So, but it was formed that 10,000 people a year was being murdered in Medellín, Colombia, in 1980. And what it was Jorge has got 40 kilos of cocaine, and he sends it to north by somebody, and one gets it, and it doesn't make it in New York. They show a newspaper, they looking for something, 200 kilos was busted in New Jersey. I'm so sorry, this was part of yours. Bam, bam, bam. You stole my stuff, and he did. So Jorge Ochoa said, all right, let's start an insurance company. We will ship it to Miami and give it to your contact for $10,000 a kilo. If it's busted anywhere along the line, we will replace it right here. So they couldn't lose. And I suppose I've heard as much as 100 tons from Peru and Bolivia and everywhere else got piled up on them. So I was there the very first day. And I had a job. And I did put 500 kilos on the plane. And I'd take off and fly it in the United States. And I said, when you want me to come back? We're waiting on you, senor. As fast as I could go back and forth. I didn't go but once because it took them a couple of weeks to get the pipeline to pay me. So that's how the Medellín Cartel formed.
So your first shipment for the Medellín Cartel was 0.5 ton?
Yes.
What sort of, and also for people that don't know, how many years piloting experience have you got now, and how many did you have at the time that you moved that first 0.5 ton?
Oh, I had 10 years of experience with marijuana, and the DEA couldn't catch me, so they tried to kill me. They put metal in my engines and followed me out over the Gulf of Mexico to see where I'd crash. I didn't crash until I got to Belize, and then we found a hat full of metal shavings in the engines. So they followed me out with a sub chaser, and so they couldn't catch me. So they had me tortured in a Mexican prison. They sent and I got out of that. My wife paid me out, and later on they got me in a pool and was really working me over, and I got away from them, and that was definitely, they said we're 7 of us, and we're working the American DEA. So they were the ones who run me from Mexico and caused me to go to Colombia. It was their fault that I was the pilot for the.
Yes, we should.
Really,
It's definitely them.
Oh, I go certainly 100%. I was happy with Mexico. Just right there, 5 or 6 hour flight. I could go from anywhere in Mexico.
Is it so? Yeah, because okay, so the plane transportation started with marijuana,
Yeah,
and then moved into large scale cocaine. But the DEA were chasing you for the marijuana.
yes.
At what point? Because your first shipment for the cartel was 0.5 ton. At what point did the DEA start chasing you down for the Colombian side of your operation?
They never had any idea until Barry Seal told.
Okay.
They had no idea. He started working for me, and I had another fellow, Jerry Wills, out of California, so I had 2 airlines running.
Yep.
And they had no idea. And when Barry got in trouble, he went to Washington, he flew his jet up and talked to Edwin Meese, was the Attorney General, and said, they're bringing tons of cocaine out of Colombia. They run him out of the office. He went back the next day and said, listen, they're bringing tons out. I can catch these people. I've got 10-year sentence. Get me out of this.
Right.
So they put a guy named Jake Jacobson, and they went down there and got 1.5 tons, and we was refueling on a military base there in Nicaragua. That was all that. We jumping way ahead of ourselves now.
Yeah, no, but this is where I like the organic nature of where we can just kind of bounce around where we want.
Well, let's go back to how I got into the.
That's what I was about to say. So did you want to start with the marijuana side of the story?
No, it was before that. A much more interesting story.
Let's do it.
Okay, I'll tell you how I met my wife. I was a poor boy. We plowing mules on a farm in Georgia. It was such a bad place. They called it Work More. Honestly, that's the name.
Work more.
Work more.
Sounds like a good place to be, Roger.
Spurs and ticks and fleas and rattlesnakes and oh yeah, it was a poor place to be, but rich and just rich. The creeks was full of alligators and fish and snakes, and I had a little horse, and it was just you couldn't grow up in any place more that would make you a man any better than that. You wanted to taste it. So, but there was no money.
I can see the nostalgia in your eyes when you talk about it. Got a big smile.
Oh yeah. I had some wonderful experiences there for 25 years. So I would go up to Canada in the sun. We grew a little patch of tobacco, about 3 acres. That's all the government would let us plant. We had 1 barn, And that's really the only thing we made any money out of. They was a support price. And so one time I was a little tiny fella, I was working in the back, picking up leaves off the floor, whatever I could do. And my folks would brag on me, so I just work harder, And so when I got about 17 years old, 18 years old, I hitchhiked to Canada. It was like the grapes of wrath. They was putting bulletin boards. They needed help desperately. The Dutch and the Belgians started planting tobacco in Canada on the North Shore of Lake Erie. Who would believe it? But I hitchhiked up there. And $20 a day room and board. Well, man, I thought I was rich. And I hadn't been going very long before some boys from another farm that I knew came over and, Roger, you want to go to a carnival? Yeah, let's go to a carnival. So I got dressed up in black pants and a shirt, and we took off, and it was a wonderful place. And went on down to a place, and it was all of us together and laughing, and nobody drinking at that age. We didn't. The guy with he 400-pounders with a beard this big, 5 brand new $100 bills. Anybody wrestle my bear, get all 4 feet off the ground, or throw him. What's your name, young man? Roger Reaves. How much you weigh? I said, 145 pounds. He said, 145-pound man against 600-pound beast. And he threw me in that little circus wagon with that little bear. And that little bear started getting up, and he got up all over that cage. He wasn't so little. He's like a sow or something. He don't look big sitting there. And I slammed into him with my 145 pounds, and it made a lot of racket as we went up. And I'm just holding a bunch of fluff, and that bear hit me about the knees and laid me out 6 feet tall. And I hit that floor, and it was loose. Flam, blam. And the crowd yelled, sick him, Roger, go.
How old was the bear, do you reckon?
Oh, I don't know, but he was old enough. He was full grown, probably 10 years old. And then he knocked me the other way, and I thought, that can't be. And I didn't know. That man probably slept with that bear. That was his pet. And here I am. He just got a little show, and I grabbed the top of that cage, and I kicked that bear with all my might right in that muscle. And that bear come insane.
Yeah?
Oh, he tore the clothes off me, beat me. I couldn't hardly catch my breath for a week. I couldn't walk for a day or two. I lost a couple of days in my clothes. And I asked the man for my $10, and he told me to go to hell. Anyway, a couple of days later.
You even get paid for fighting this bear?
I didn't get nothing, lost my clothes. I went down since I couldn't work, I went down to Lake Erie to the beach one day, and I walked out on a long pier. I hobbled out, and there's a beautiful girl on a towel. And I tipped my hat. I was wearing and when I come back, she asked me, was that a university ring? I said, no, this is a high school ring. And she said, oh, we don't get that in Canada. I said, you're from Holland, aren't you? And she said, sit down here and tell me how you know about Dutch accents. I knew one person in the world from Holland that had that accent. And that was 64 years ago. And that's my wife over there now. And that's amazing, yes.
You know what, man? Do you know what I love about this? And I said this when we first met, because we ran into each other at the front of the studio. It's like running into family friends. You guys just bring such good energy. I was thinking of all the crazy stories you've got. I don't know, maybe I'm a bit old school, but my favorite is how you met your wife. Because 60 plus years of marriage, it's quite impressive.
I took her to Georgia, and I don't know if she was impressed or not, but it was different. The food was fried, and all this okra and black-eyed peas and fried chicken and ham and, just country food.
Yeah.
Anyway, and it was hot. And I was farming tobacco and some other stuff, and we put in 36,000 chickens. Purina was promoting, and we put that in, 36,000 laying hens. Man, we had eggs that you couldn't imagine. So anyway, they promote this area, and they promote it, and you mortgage your farm. And the price of feed kept going up, and the price of eggs went going down. And we was going to lose the farm. And my mama was about crying, like, what are we going to do? You go to work, wouldn't help. You ain't going to make but $1.25 an hour. You're never going to pay off that $75,000 feed bill. So I started making moonshine. I told her, I've got to. And I remember we'd had a baby, and she was ironing the little baby's dress, and I told her, and the tears dropped on the little bed. She begged me not to do it. So I started making moonshine, and I finally was out making 1,000 gallons a week.
How old were you at this point?
24.
Can I tell you something that's fascinating? Most people do their best work when their back's against the wall. And I've heard the phrase, we're going to lose the farm. But like, you actually were going to lose your farm.
We're going to lose it. They done took our car, our tractor, everything. I mean, we was in trouble.
So you basically had to go out and start making moonshine to save the family's farm.
Yes.
I mean, I'm going to say that's quite impressive, to be honest. Like, I mean, I'm an entrepreneur, right? So I have my back against the wall quite often. I haven't had to make moonshine. But how did the moonshine chapter go?
Well, it went good for 11 months, and I did real well. But then I had the fellow that taught me how I was a moonshiner in that area. And when I got big, he turned me in. He didn't want that kind of competition. I guess the price of moonshine dropped.
Wait, he ratted on you for moonshine?
Pardon?
He dobbed you in for moonshine?
Yes. So he came we used to live in a house trailer. He came one Sunday, and Roger, you better run that shine. That thing, it's going to vinegar on you. And my wife still says vinegar. And I said, it's freezing out there. Nothing gonna happen. Well, you better run it now, I'm telling you. Well, what it was 8 agents down there waiting around, still waiting, and they told him, go get him down here, we freezing. We can't build a fire because he might come.
Really?
Yeah,
and was this Prohibition era? You couldn't buy...
No, but in Georgia, alcohol was illegal.
Right.
So, but in Florida, across the line, it was legal. And that's what bothered my wife. I mean, I said, these are man's laws. God's laws don't change. Man's change.
It's so funny that you say that. Tangential, but I invested into a business that did like CBD products, and it always sat bad with me that people were in jail for possessing a product that we were legally making money off. It was completely clean. And so we partnered with a project that would get people out of prison who were in there for non-violent drug offenses, because I couldn't sleep at night making money knowing that there were people in a cage like an animal for possessing a plant that we could now legally sell all across.
It's insane.
Yeah, it made me sick.
I got 35 years for it later on. But let me finish this marathon.
Yeah,
so where was I?
So you're talking about the moonshine.
Yeah, so anyway,
and
I went down there
the
and I saw a car parked way down there in the woods where it shouldn't be. And I didn't go to steal. I went in under a China berry tree up there, cold morning, and I'm an old pickup truck, and it'll run.
Oh, so how did you know there was a car waiting there?
I saw down there, they shouldn't be a car down there in those woods.
Yeah, right.
An old abandoned house, and it was backed up, and uh-oh. And I come on by, and then I saw another one, and I took them. And then they both of them behind me with their sirens blowing through that swamp. I ran over trees, and the barrel run out, and all kinds of stuff. I had a 12-foot condenser. It flew out. Man, my head hit the top, and those cars just crashed right into that barrel, everything. So anyway, I got in the middle of some woods, and I jumped out of that truck and ran. And all 8 of them emptied their guns at me. One of them cut me across the neck right under the ear there, and just got skin and some flesh. And I knew the bloodhounds got behind me, and and it was cold. I mean, there was ice on the edge of the creek. Yeah. And I got in that creek, I must have swam 2 miles down it till I had hypothermia, and I got it on the other side and got away.
So you've been shot at, you got bloodhounds chasing you.
I got still bleeding, and so I didn't know. So I went to my mother's house and got some clothes. I don't know what kind to put on, but anyway, went out to see Nicky Rollins, a young lawyer, and he said, they didn't catch you. They ain't nothing. I said, well, they got my truck. He said, so what? They'll blow it up. They blew up my steel and my...
How much moonshine was there?
I guess probably, if it was none, but the mash was ready to run.
Right.
Should have been 1,000 gallons of moonshine if I'd have got to run it.
Was it lucrative?
Pardon?
Was it lucrative?
Yeah, you made $3 a gallon. It only took you $1 to make it. Then I give the guy that sold it for me 50 cents, and I just met him last week. He's 80-something years old. Nearly 90. Yeah.
Did you ever try your own product?
Yeah, I just can't. I said that shit's made to sell.
Yeah. Shit's made to sell. What was your customers' feedback on it?
Oh, they all get drunk. Well, they hold their nose.
So it worked.
They hold their nose and drink it. It's good, great. You drink it to get drunk. There ain't no other way about it. Yeah, I guess you can put some Coca-Cola or stuff in it and be all right. But it's just the Italians sell it for grappa. It's exactly the same thing.
Yeah,
it's
right.
awful.
I feel like I want to try some someday just to like experience.
Well, I got plenty if you want some.
You want to make some for me?
No, I got some with me.
Bullshit. Do you really?
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe not on the podcast because I'm already a bit delirious.
Whenever I was at home, somebody give me a pint.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, so you escape the moonshine, you're getting shot at, you're getting chased by bloodhounds.
I went to California, and I went to work driving nails, shoveling concrete, whatever I could do, and I took a test. Redondo Beach Fire Department was hiring firemen. They was changing shifts, and they had 400 people, and I got the job. Man, I just couldn't believe it. Getting on the fire department and back there was like winning the lottery, like 1 in 400 got on. So I got the job, and I drove the back of a hook and ladder truck for 4 years. The long ladder, 108 foot there in the air, and I enjoyed that. But then I would, I did building room additions, and I had a painting crew. I'd haul antiques back from Missouri and have a sale, do anything I could on my days off. You only work 10 days a month. You have 20 days off. So idle hands is the devil's workshop. So here I went. And I bought me an airplane. I'd already learned to fly.
How did you learn to fly?
I learned to fly in Douglas, Georgia. I had the idea. I read a book called Jungle Pilot, and I'm a Christian. And I read the book, and I said, you know, I would like to do that. You fly the mail into the missionaries, or fly the sick people out, or fly the medicine, and you're just a taxi driver for missionaries in Borneo or South America, wherever you are. And I knew I would like to do that. I'm not a preacher, but I was on the side of good. I didn't have any idea, or never, what happened to me in my life, and certainly just what happened. It wasn't what I was planning on for sure. And so that's why I learned to fly. So after I came out to California, I bought a third interest in a little Cessna 150 for $1,100. And I flew all the way to Anchorage and anyhow, way up in Alaska with that thing. I had quite an experience, and I flew everywhere down to Mexico, and then I bought a 172 and then a 182, and I'd take Mari down on some of my days off. We'd go to a place called Muley, 300 or 400 miles south of the border there, south of San Diego, and I'd go fishing. She'd potty train the babies, and she'd lay in the hammock and get a suntan. We just had a lovely life. We owned our own house, a couple of houses, nice car, and had an airplane. What more could a young man want?
And this is while you were a fireman as well?
Yes, while I was fireman, yes. So I was making way more money on the side than I was on the fire department, but it was a good job.
And the side hustle was the...
Pardon?
The money on the side was coming from...
The fire department. Oh, yeah. No, I did some room additions. I did... electrical work for people. I was a counterfeit electrician.
Oh, right. So you were doing legit work on the side of the firework, and the plane was just what, for fun at the time? Or?
The plane was just fun, yeah. So we just had it where we could just have fun. I bought it with another fella. And so I'd go down to Mexico, and somebody said, told me about marijuana. Why don't you bring some back? And I said, I don't know nothing about it, man. He said, man, it's the hottest thing.
You didn't know about marijuana?
I did. I'd heard about it. And I said, yeah, man. I said, I've heard about the kids smoking it, but I don't know anything about it. He said, it's the hottest thing since pancakes, I believe. And I said, what would they pay? He said, I don't know. I'll introduce you to somebody. He introduced me to a nice man with beautiful baritone voice, wife and little children. I didn't realize he was paralyzed. He'd been a race car driver. But anyway, he said, you have an airplane? You might fly some marijuana. I said, I might if it paid me enough. He said, well, let me call somebody. So he called a fella over, and, gosh, you got an airplane? You bring it out. We got 2 loads ready. I said, how much you pay? He said, $10,000 a load. And I said, throw some of that shit in there, boy. So I went down there, and I came back. It was nothing. I mean, no more than driving to town. And I landed out there on the dry lake and unloaded and give it to them, and I went on home. And they met me right then with $10,000 in a paper bag.
In what year was this?
1970.
That'd be a lot of money back then, too.
10 times what it is now, but still. It wasn't enough for the risk, but so I took that money, and Mari put her hand over her mouth when I put it on the bed, like, my gosh, it was a pile of money. And the baby grabbed some $100 bills and was crawling around with it, and we laughed like, this ain't real. What the heck? This is not real. That was 2 years' work, anybody working then. So I took $100 and went to a criminal defense lawyer, and I said, here, Mr. Lawyer, I got one question for you. What would happen if I got caught bringing some pot back from Mexico? He said, what's your criminal history? I said, I don't have one. Yeah, you got something, what, speeding? I said, I've never had a parking ticket in my life, nothing. You working on the fire department? Yeah. Go to church on Sunday? I'm an upstanding citizen. I'm a Mason, so it's just all that sort of stuff. He said, what? Why? He said, you get probation. He said, the very worst judge that you could find might give you 1 year, and you'd spend 4 months raking leaves on one of these federal prison camps. And I went and talked to another lawyer, and he told me the same thing. And I said, I have found my profession. So I bought a Cessna 207. It's a long stretch one, and it hauled 1,100 pounds. Now I can make $40,000.
Per trip.
For a trip. And I can do it every day if I want to. I brought the price down. It was $100 a pound in California. And that's when the guy Blow was holding it out. I'm sure he's getting my stuff.
Oh, George.
George Young.
Yeah.
So I was just 10 miles from him, so he had to be getting it. So it was $100 a pound when I started, and the end of the season it was $60 a pound. I brought the price down. I did so much.
Really?
So
wow. So you basically, you start moving. I mean, that's a lot of money per trip as well.
Unbelievable. I called my mother out, and my baby sister. My baby sister was only 6 weeks old when my daddy died, so I was like her daddy.
Okay.
Still am. And so I called him out, took him to Disneyland in my new Cadillac.
Oh, man, that's
like a fool. I said, look at me.
Did your mom know what you were doing?
She asked me, she said, what are you doing, boy? I said, I'm hauling pot, Ma.
What'd she say?
She said, how much you making? I said, I'm making $40,000 any day I want to go down there. She said, my goodness, what would they do if they catch you? And I told her what the lawyer said, and I said, what do you think, Ma? She said, do you need a co-pilot, son?
That is a supportive mother, Roger.
Well, she liked to make money, too. She'd been poor on a farm. She had hoed cotton years for $3 a day.
And, like, when you're sitting on that much cash, like, where were you putting it all?
Oh, I was giving it to somebody smarter than I was to invest in the real estate.
Okay.
He was a lot smarter than I was.
Okay.
He got it.
I'll tell you off camera about a guy I know who put all the money he made in the 90s into a bunch of investments, and he just doesn't have to work anymore now. You'll know him. He's famous, but I'll tell you off camera.
He had more luck than I did.
Yeah,
I didn't meet a single solid, honest person.
I mean, different career paths, you know.
Just
and look, I mean, it is a recurring theme in your story. This is a great chat, by the way. It doesn't even feel like there's a podcast here, to be perfectly honest. I could just do this for 7 hours with just you and me. Sorry, audience. But, okay, so...
I got to finish this little story.
Yeah, no, please.
So I was landing in north of Mazatlan, and I was landing on a little short runway, 900 feet long, sand on the bend of a river, and I'd spend the night, and I'd take fuel with me and refuel. That's Cessna 207. And in the morning, daylight, I'd brush my teeth in the river and take off, and a young man named Pedro would get in there very light because you couldn't, I mean, it was taking every bit of that runway, and we'd go off 30, 40 miles, and the men of the village would have a roadblock. They'd come out with their trucks with their guns on it and block the road, and I'd land over it, and they'd like a bucket brigade fill the airplane up. I'd take off. Sometimes I saw a police car in there, but his light wasn't turning. And I'd come home, and I mean, I did it over and over and over again. And the people were poor, starving donkeys, little children, half clothed and infantigo on their face. And I would tell Mari this, and I'd go to the grocery store with her, and we'd buy all kind of little goodies that they didn't have, and candies and toys and stuff. We'd go to Toys R Us and buy the little stuff, and I'd fill the airplane up with it. I thought I was being good. But every week, more and more children were coming. So the American Santa Claus was getting around. And so I landed and stopped about in the middle of the runway, so I only had about 500 feet in front of me. I usually turn around and go back and taxi. And spent the night in the barn there on a hammock, and donkeys braying all night. And next morning, I went down with about a dozen men. They carried my satchel, got in this place playing with Pedro, and I cranked the airplane up, and pow! I thought a tire blew out. Pedro said, "Policia, policia." It dawned on me, and I shoved it to the firewall cold. And I went tearing off down that sand strip. And right at the end, when I rotated, they opened up with those machine guns. I think it was AK-47s, and I got 80 bullet holes in the cockpit with me. It shot his foot off. It shot my toe off. It shot a groove across the top of my head, and my kneecap gone, and a bullet's still in my foot up under there, part of a bullet. Every time I get x-rays, there's that bullet in there.
Really?
Yeah.
So hang on, the Mexican authorities basically Swiss cheese your plane with AKs.
And it went up, one on the right got me, and it went above my head and went up into the wing tank on the left tank, and all the windshields are shot out of it, all the windows shot, and that gasoline is just pouring in there. I can't even see. And the rudder felt flopping. I thought that they had shot the rudder into they hadn't. If you put it on like that in a stall, the rudder flops. I didn't know that. I mean, who would think about it? So anyhow, I pulled the power, and it hit in that water, They looked like rocks. Just as turning daylight, they looked like big turtles. They're kind of square rocks. And I remember I was coming down, probably only 50 feet. And when the first time it hit, the wings came off, and the next time it hit, from the firewall over, it come under. And I'm sitting there knocked out, I reckon. And Pedro's saying, come on, Roger, come on, Roger. And I jump out in that cold water, and 2 of those federales are coming down, and they still shooting that plane. They hitting that thing, hit it twice. Bam, bam. They run that way. And I have a Browning high power that I had taped to the top of the radio just for survival. Well, that baby's laying right there now. I took it and I popped a few caps over their heads, and we don't see the federales no more. And I have a saying, when the rabbit get the gun, the farmer he run.
That's a good one. Did you come up with that?
Pardon?
Did you come up with that one?
Yeah.
I love that.
Anyway, we started going down, and Pedro said, no. And I looked, and he'd been hit right under his ankle bone, and it had come out the other side. It wasn't even bleeding from the shock of it. It stopped it.
Straight through there?
Yeah. And one of the bullets come through. Might have been the same one hit my toe. I don't know. And so we went up through the cactus, and there was an old donkey. It looked like she was 30 years old, and a big one, way back. Charlotte. And he petted her, and we jumped on that donkey and got away. And we went a long way, and it's quite a long story. That whole chapter in my book about that.
Wow.
And
so you still got shrapnel in your leg from that? Could you just refresh my memory? How did the plane survive 80 bullets to the plane?
I don't know. It looked like Bonnie and Clyde. How did I live through it? It's a miracle that I lived through it.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Do you think you've got guardian angels looking after you?
Absolutely. I had one almost speak out loud to me one time when I was a little boy.
Yeah?
Let me tell you that story.
Please, I'd love to.
This is the most, okay, it was just, something, when the spirit comes over you, you can't deny it. I must have been 10, 12 years old, and I would go down about a half mile from our house was a Alligator Creek. And they're good fishing. Not big fish, but nice little fish. And my mother would brag on me if I brought home a string of fish. She'd clean them and cook them, and we'd have fish for supper, and I'd do it often. And I said, get some nice big perch and catfish. So I went across a bridge, and the road had sunk a little bit, and the bridge was newer. And every time the car would go over, it'd go bump, bump. And there was a good fish hole under the bridge. So I just got sitting down there, and I undid my cork and threw it out there and had a can of worms. And I had fear come over me. All I can say, I just got scared. I looked around. It kind of chills at your back. I thought like a moccasin was fixing to bite me, or an alligator going to slap his tail out there and get me. You don't know what's going to happen, but I got scared. And I got so afraid, or so, not afraid, just so ominous, just like, ooh. I took that fishing pole, wound it up real quick, threw those logs in the creek, and I went across a little foot log and went across the bridge. And coming down the hill was an old flatbed truck from back in the 30s. It must have been a semi, because it had the flat steering wheel, no windshield on it. And there's 4 black men, and 3 of them in the front, and 4 of them behind the sawmill motor. The sawmill motor was right over the tires. And the guys in the back was jumping up and down on it and making the front of the truck come up, and they were all laughing. And they come right by me. Now, that sawmill motor probably weighed several tons. Anyhow, a ton. And when the front tires hit that little lip on that bridge, the car, and they jumped at the same time, that car went up in the front end of it went like that, so the back was almost to drag the ground. And I'm looking at it. I'm not far. I'm 100 feet away from it. It dragging the ground, and the driver made a terrible mistake. He slammed on the brakes, and the left one caught. He didn't have any brakes on the right, and that truck did a cartwheel on that bridge, and it killed and maimed those people on that thing of blood. I just remember seeing like legs and arms flying, and that sawmill motor knocked the banister over that bridge and went down where I had been fishing. And don't tell me an angel didn't move me.
Wow.
It's just impossible otherwise.
Remember at the start of the podcast, I don't even know if the cameras were on or not, but whatever, who cares? But remember at the start of the podcast, we were talking about like how this all started, and we talked about like it was like a near-death experience, and like when you've had that, your view on life changes. Do you feel that, because it's like for you, it's a different type of near-death experience, and I do think you were saved by some sort of guardian angel for sure.
There's no doubt about it. We're spirits in a body.
Yeah. How did what have you seen that? I've got that. It's my little angel behind there.
Yeah.
But how did that? I'm trying to think of the best way to ask this.
About what? You speak a little louder to me.
Yeah. How did that impact you?
I'm still the same person I am. I just always have been. I
No,
haven't-
that particular event, because when you saw
No,
that
it-
car go over and you think, I should have been there, I should be gone. Did that have an impact on you?
Not for a little boy. You don't think of that. You just see it and you look back on life and you remember exactly how it happened.
Yeah.
And you thank God for it.
So it
but
was-
you didn't. It didn't change your life.
Okay, but it was kind of your like, I'm being protected by somebody.
No, I didn't even think of it.
Oh, really?
No.
Well, I think of it.
I went to church every Sunday and Sunday school.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
I did it anyway, just my folks. And I slept in the bed with my grandma until I was 14 years old. And we was on our knees side the bed, and she prayed us to sleep every night.
Oh, that's
And
beautiful.
Dipped 3 sisters snuff and used
Man,
Sloan's liniment.
Well, whichever guardian angel that was, it sounds like from that moment onwards, they were working overtime for you, man, because you've been shot at more than anyone I know. I mean, you've been shot at in a plane. You've been shot at doing moonshine. You've been shot at in a creek. You've been shot at by authorities. And I think that's going to take us through to the next part because, you know, and thank you for sharing that story, by the way, because that was yeah.
It's just a little different than
No, I like
know
that.
If you want to know who I am,
No,
these are
that's
what
what,
it is.
this means more to me than like all the. It's just I don't know
Exactly. There's a
and
lot
this is
more
what
to
I
it.
want to do. You know, I want to capture this. I love these stories. I could listen to this all day off camera if there were no audience here. So I appreciate that. But you know that does take me forward because there is something protecting you somewhere, and that seems evident throughout your life. And there's a part of your story where because all good things come to an end, they say. And there was an end to the marijuana trafficking chapter, and that ended up in you getting caught by the Mexican authorities and tortured by them as well. Are you comfortable telling us about that part, how it happened and how that business came to an end?
Yes. I think that the American DEA was on to me a long, long time, and they couldn't figure out how I was getting these loads into the United States. They had little pickup trucks with antenna radar from all the way across the southern border. They was catching maybe 7 airplanes in the crew a week, but they didn't catch me. And I'll tell you how I did it. I figured out right quick I'm not going through that radar trap. I got chased back one night, and I didn't like it.
Wasn't your cup of tea?
They just almost run into me. They tried to get in behind me, but they were direct. They came right in front of me. So we both turned on our lights and separated. I went back to Mexico. Anyway, I would fly up anywhere in Central America, and I would land at about the middle of Baja, California. The stretch is 1,000 miles long. About 400 or 500 miles south of San Diego. There was a place. There was an abandoned runway. You could hardly tell it was a runway in the mesquite trees. And I landed there and asked he was a goat farmer. He used to sold cheese from the goats. And if I could land there, sure. So I gave him, I believe, $500, and I'd put my marijuana under a mesquite tree, and I'd take off and fly to the village of Muley, and I'd rent a room, take a nap. They'd wash my plane, fill it up with fuel, and late in the afternoon, I'd fly back out there and load it up and give one $500, and I'd take off there and I would fly west out into the Isle of Guadalupe. It's a large island out 200 miles off the coast, and from there I would go northwest till I was at least 300 miles out from San Diego, so radar couldn't reach me out there. And I put it down to about 50 feet over the water and came on in, way on up. I'd come up behind the Santa Barbara Islands, up near Lompoc, and I'd go up, there's a runway over there, and I'd take off and look like I took off from that runway.
Right.
When I'd show up on radar, and I'd go out in the desert and unload. I did it 100 times, just like I was a bus driver. I had a license to do it. Well, anyway, the DEA put metal shavings in my engines, and when they finally quit, I'd already got home, but there was a hat full of metal shavings in my engine. They followed me just to see where I was going to crash. That's when I was leaving.
Just on that, why were they trying to kill you instead of catch you?
They wanted to catch me with some overzealous DEA agent. So if we can't catch him, I'm going to kill him. That's when I was going back to Central America, and I left somewhere in Alabama or somewhere, and I noticed them backed up with the cars. And then when I just took off on a little one, the tower said, turn right, turn left. That's not natural. So I zoomed over and I went through some hills, and I saw them, an old sub chaser going back and forth. And I went out over the Gulf, and I got up maybe 10,000 feet, and they put so many transponders on my plane until I had a collection of them. They're $15,000 a piece. Anyhow, I knew I didn't have one. So I went around behind a cloud, and then I did a hard left, and there they were sitting right there. They'd been up behind me. And they took off and peeled out. But that's when I found the medal. So when I was arrested there in Mexico.
That's right.
Pardon?
Yeah, no, I'm following the story. This is good.
I jumped back a little bit. So I'm knowing this is how much they're after me. I was just in a pool waiting on a plane to come down, and they just come over and knew my folks' name, and the guy shook hands with him, threw me in prison.
This is the Mexican authorities.
Yes, the Mexican.
You sitting in a pool, let it all just show up, and
No, we're waiting for a pilot to bring me a plane. I used to sometimes had pilots to bring me a plane because if you don't stay with your marijuana, you may get something you don't want.
Oh,
yeah. So you have to you pay for it. You better. It's best to. A lot of times I got trash instead of what I'd paid for.
So you're sitting there, come up and say hello, Roger.
Yeah, I said, yes, hello. I believe you are. You Mr. Ardell? Yes, I am. How you doing? The click. He already had the handcuffs on that.
Oh, no way. So you got bracelets straight away.
Right off. And so they put me into jail, and it was a bad place. I mean, filthy beyond. And I was in a cage, iron-barred cage. I guess it was 20 feet long and about 12 feet wide. And sometimes there'd be 20 of us in there. And I went in that place, and I thought, I've done nothing. I'll be out of here for something. And there was a pillow over there that somebody had sitting on it, and I thought, ooh, that slimy thing looks repulsive. And by day 3, I'd fight for it. So I'd have something to sit on.
So 20 people in a cell?
Yeah, but they'd take them out. You'd see as drug addicts and thieves. They'd beat hell out of them, and they'd get them and put them in the rail jail, whatever do it to them. That was just a holding place for everybody coming in. But let me stay in there 3 days. And that was bad enough. They'd come in there, you had 1 5-gallon bucket to crap in and pee in, and it overflowed everywhere. And they'd come in there with that hog disinfectant, like you put in animal pens. They'd spray it all down, throw it everywhere, and wipe it out. Ooh, it stunk. It was clean, though.
Oh, my God.
And you had to sit there with that, and I didn't have anything to eat. And sometimes somebody give me a tortilla or something, and one time somebody gave me some nice, that's another story.
Yep.
And I had a Pepsi bottle, and I couldn't buy nothing. They took my money away. Some guy with a blackjack.
Who knew that you were in there?
Pardon?
Did anyone know that you were being
nobody
held
knew
there?
I was in there.
Pardon me?
Nobody.
And how long were you being held there for in Mexico?
I must have been in there about a month, 6 weeks. But first of all, let me go on a little bit further.
Please.
American Embassy guy, a little pencil neck son of a bitch, come to see me. And I gave him Mari's address and told him to please call. He never made nothing.
That's disgusting.
He just this son of a bitch.
Do you know what I thought? As soon as you said that story, do you know the first thing I thought? What Mari must have been thinking.
Yeah, she was worried. But
she would have been worried sick.
So I got somebody I was going out. For several people went out, and I gave them the numbers, and they didn't call. Finally, somebody called. And Mari got in touch with the fellows that I was buying the marijuana from. But anyhow, this took a long time. So they took me back in the back, and they told me that they was working with the American DEA, and they were going to get a confession out of me. Wow. So they put my head under seltzer water of some kind, and after one whiff of that, I guarantee you can't be held down. You'd break your ribs.
What's in it?
Pardon?
Like what's in the water?
I don't know, but if you take a whiff of it, it gets up in your nose, and it just knocks your head off.
Like moonshine or something?
No, it was like a seltzer, some kind of, I don't know, self-aphrodisiac. But it was hot. I mean, really hot.
They're putting your head in there.
Yeah, they put your head in to hold you under, 3 of them. And but I found out after a while, you struggle like you're having to breathe before you do it. So
I remember you said that you pretended. Ugh.
Yeah, so you have a fit before you need a fit.
Smart man.
So then they, of course, they beat me. They even chained my feet down and beat the bottom of it with a paddle. They had me where I couldn't even hardly walk. And they beat me all over. I was yellow and black and blue. Nothing serious, just you thumped up. I've been in some scraps that wasn't no worse than that, but it was just regular. And they'd take me out, and in the cell was like about 5 foot square, and maybe 12, 15 feet tall with a light on all the time. And they fed me at different times. They'd open that door and put a little rice, and that's all you got, some rice and beans. That was it. And I think they'd make a day you'd wait, and then sometimes they'd feed you every 3 hours, trying to disorient you. And right outside, there was just a terrible spot where they were torturing people. You could hear them crying and moaning and begging. And they'd open the door, you next, son of a bitch, you next. And boy, then they'd take you out and they'd thump on you. But that wasn't bad. I mean, I didn't like it, but it wasn't bad.
Right.
And
what was the worst?
Then they came in and they had me naked. And I was living in that spot naked. It was hot, didn't bother me, on the floor.
Yep.
And the floor was filthy. I don't think they'd ever washed it. And they took me out and chained me across the two things and stretched me out and buttered my bum. And here come a guy and big fingers, big square fingernails. He starts pushing hot chili peppers up my rectum. He must have put a cord up there.
What the fuck?
I mean, and it was red hot. I don't like to talk ugly, but I was looking for new words. And I looked him in the face real good, and I thought, if I live through this, which I knew I would, I will look you up and kill you. That's all I could think of. Let me get to him. And I thought I'd crawl a mile over broke glass to get to him.
Do you know what I did?
So when I got finally let me wash that out.
Did you find him?
Nah, never thought about it no more till
I think karma.
That's what you think about when somebody's doing that to you. Oh. You know? I'm glad I don't know who he is. He's probably not dead of old age, but
yeah, I'm sure. Hopefully, karma caught up to him. I've heard of some bad torture tactics, but that's probably one of the
that was bad. They handcuffed me like this, and sometimes they leave me overnight like that, and it's painful. After a while, it don't seem like nothing. But you stay there 17 hours like that. You're glad to get your arms down. You can hardly move them. And then the worst thing, well, it wasn't the worst thing, then they hung a dead man in. He was a skinny black man.
Wait, they what, sorry?
They hung a dead man in the cell with me.
They hung him in there?
Hung in it. No, they came in with him. He's frozen. And they put him, he was on an ice hook hooked in his ribs, and they put that on a bolt on the wall that they have there. And he was wrapped in newspaper, looked like a dummy, like a mummy. And you next, son of a bitch, you next. That's what they could say. So, dead man not going to bother me. I don't like it. But it didn't bother me at all. I killed hogs and cows and animals. I've seen guts and stuff all my life. But anyway, when he started throwing out, he was hanging this way, and the formaldehyde started running out of his eyes, coming down. It looked like he was crying. It really did. It was like, that was impressive to see that dead man cry. Fuck. But it wasn't long before the stuff started unraveling off of his private parts and looked like he was peeing on the floor, and then it was coming out of his rectum, and it was paddling on the floor, and that stuff was awful. It's formaldehyde.
Can you familiarize for people that don't know what formaldehyde is?
It's what they embalm people with. It's a fluid, embalming fluid.
Right.
I don't know exactly but it's not supposed to be bad for you. But if you breathe it for a little while, I started seeing flying pigs, and they were all pink with wings. I was having hallucinating with that stuff.
Really?
So I put my face under the door. There was about a half inch there, filthy floor, and put it up, and I'm sucking fresh air all I can get, and I pass out. And I find out I'm in a hospital with a very concerned doctor over me saying, "Breathe, man, breathe." He almost had tears in his eyes. I was dying from formaldehyde poisoning.
Hang on. So of all the torture they put you through, the thing that got you was inhaling the formaldehyde from a dead person that they put in your cell.
Yes.
Out of curiosity, how did they take you to hospital? Like, were you just that?
No, there's a hospital in the prison.
Right. Okay.
A place, a medic place. Yes.
Right. And so you woke up
in
the hospital.
They revived me, and they put me back in, and then general population, and I could at least Maury got me some money, and I could buy some food, and I slept on. I got me a piece of cardboard to sleep on, and I had a little incident in there. But
what was that one?
Oh, the guy, I gave him $40 to get a bottle of whiskey for us and some food, and He come back without the whiskey or something and said, "You only give me $20." And I said, "Come on." He put a dagger up under my throat like this. He said, "You got $20. You got $20, right?" I said, "I got $20."
Yeah.
Then next time I got some money, I bought one longer than his.
Did you get him back?
And then I
Did you
said,
get
"I
your
give you
$20 back?
$40."
Really? Did you get your $40?
No, of
You get your
course
whiskey?
not. No, I got whiskey. I got what I wanted after that.
And you got a nice knife as well.
Yeah, he left me alone for sure.
And so they moved you into the general population.
Yeah,
of
and
Mexico.
Mari, and one night, one morning at 4:00 in the morning, I got kicked awake. Come. And we went through the prison and like bent over, like we're doing something really big, one of the guards. And we go out a little narrow back door. Here, and there was a guy with a pickup truck with a horse head on it, and we sped through the city, and I got away. Mari had paid the bribe.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So how did that plan out?
Pardon? I didn't know anything about it.
Right.
She come in, I believe they had visiting day on Wednesday.
Right.
And we'd come in, and the little fag was rocking his little puppy and cooking suppers, running around in his negligee, and every radio was on a different channel blaring away, and all the women was coming, and they had these little cardboard shacks with hammocks, and you could go in there for $2 and rent one.
Yeah.
Mari wouldn't rent one with me.
Right. All right. So now the purpose of the torture, for people that don't know, they were trying to get you to sign off on a confession.
Yes.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but when I was reading up a little bit, it was the case that if you put your confession in, you get what was the downside of the confession versus?
Okay, they could hold you 2 years without nothing.
That's right.
Just hold you. But once you signed, you had a minimum of 6 years in prison.
Correct.
So I knew.
So 2 years of hell versus minimum 6 years of.
So, and during that first 2 years, you got time to make a bribe with somebody and get out of there.
Yep.
They had nothing on me, zero, no reason whatsoever, nothing.
And you managed to get out after the two?
Well, Mari paid the judge or somebody to sign some papers, and I got out.
How
all torn up.
How did it feel to get back home?
Well, I remember I went with her. I went to a hotel where she was, and we went to the airport real quick. And we got on a plane. It was the 4th of July, 1974. And when that 727 took off, I thought they were going to get me before I got. I was scared by that time. I was, I looked pretty rough. And when the wheels come up, click, and he took off in the sky, I thought, I made it. Now I'm out of here.
That must have felt good.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Well, I mean, it sounds like it was tough, but I mean, it's better.
I never thought that I wasn't going to get out.
Yeah, no, it's better than the alternative. I mean, I'm surprised they didn't try and like fake a signature or something. But
To do what?
like, I'm surprised they didn't try and like forge a signature or like just grab. You know what I mean?
I don't know. They want you to sign probably. Then you go before the judge and say, yes, I plead guilty. And
Okay.
so
Just more than that.
Yeah.
Okay, man. So you went through hell and you avoided the 6 year plus sentence, and you get in the plane, you come back home, and I'm sure you touch the ground and you look at the sky and you think, thank God I'm out of there. How long was it until? Because like at that point you'd kind of stopped the fly in fly out for a while. What was the next chapter when you?
I don't know. I started back again with a bigger airplane. I started with DC-3s.
What bullshit?
Yeah.
You started straight back again.
Yeah.
You weren't scared of the Mexican authorities again, or you weren't concerned about it?
Well, I don't know. By that time I was done addicted to the money.
Right.
So I had twin beaches. I had 12 of them, different ones.
Yep.
And I tore them up and crashed them. And somebody said, "Roger, you use airplanes like I use Kleenex." It was rough.
12 planes.
12 of them, but I buy them and sell them and whatever.
So
but Twin Beaches, if you look at them, the Twin Beach is a beautiful old plane with that V-tail. Oh, it's nice. And Mari likes that best. Got big radial engines, 450 horsepower a piece, and thick wings. It'll bring you home.
Wow, 12's a lot.
And it holds like 2,000 to 2,500 pounds.
Right.
So
you get home, you just doubling down. You're back in the swing.
You just done
got 12
made
planes.
$100,000 for a day's work.
How much?
Probably $100,000 or more for a day's work then.
And what year was this?
I started off like with those in about 1974.
And it was still marijuana at that point.
Yeah, huh?
Jesus. All right. So
But then I got another one. I
Let's do
haven't
it.
told this story much. I'm sleeping in my room at a hotel in Mazatlan, and I ordered breakfast, and a huevos ranchero and some coffee, and boy, it come up right quick, big red-faced waiter, way too big, and he knocks on the door, and I open the door, and I just got my blue jeans on, no shirt, and he's had the coffee in a steaming thing, and he holds it with the other hand, and he pulls 45. He said, "Federal Police in Mexico. You move, I kill you. Comprende?" I see, I comprende. He put that down, and he got my passport and was looking through it, and there was a mini bar there, and I got a Coca-Cola. I use a Coca-Cola. So maybe you ever have a fight with one, and then you kind of go for it again. It works. It's a good club. And I got it, and my hand kind of shook. I don't know how many is out that door, and I don't have a balcony. I'm 6 floors up. So I let it go. So he stuck the gun in. I got a shirt on, stuck my gun in, and we went out the door and got in the elevator and went down. There's 3 carloads of them. And they drove through town. They drove through by the prison where I had been. They drove out of town, and they went across a railroad track, and they had 3 brand new LTD Fords. And those things were pretty at the time. I'm in the middle with some of them. They don't say anything. They go across the railroad track, and they turn back to the left, and there's an area, I guess, with a couple of acres where they put they have trucks that pick up the donkeys and mules and cows off the road.
Yeah.
And they put them there to rot. And he stopped right amongst all that yarn, and we got out. And he said, "¿Dónde estás tu aviones? Where are your airplanes?" And I said, "I don't speak Spanish, senor." And he hit me with a big, thick fist right up under the ear and knocked me plumb off my feet. And I said, "My Spanish improved." And he was red shirt open. He had a gold ruby. I mean, out of pure gold with a red ruby eye.
Right.
And he had a stack of papers, and he said, "We're here in conjunction with American DEA out of Mexico City, and we have been sent here to stop you. We know you have a yacht that's hauling marijuana and 2 airplanes. And if you don't tell us and you don't confess, we're going to kill you." Now, woo. So they didn't even have handcuffs. They took my shirt and pulled it over. I had a white shirt, pulled it over my head, and wrapped my hand real tight. I mean tight with my own belt.
Right.
And I had a pair of gabardine pants on and some bally shoes. And they knocked me down there in that red dirt and where the bulldozer pushed it over, and little red rocks about that big all over. You've seen that kind of soil, and the corn stunk just early in the morning. And they slapped me around, and they busted my nose, and, you're going to sign this, and put the papers on the front of me. And I'm down on my knees and scruffing around. I mean, I just tore those pants all up and took all the skin and the meat off the inside your knees where you're down like that. And the morning wore on, and they used a cattle prod on me. And that thing, they must have hit me 100 times with that thing, all the tender spots. I mean, you'll move. I guarantee you it'll move you. It'll move a bull. It'll move you.
Right.
So about 10 o'clock in the morning, the cattle prod went dead. It wouldn't move me anymore. So they called for the boss to bring new batteries or new cattle prod out. And there was 6 or 7 of them. And when he came, all of them went to kiss ass up where he was, where the other cars were parked. And I'm there on my knees, and I've done got my hands loose. That belt that got wet was wet and blood, and I could get it where I could get my hand out.
Right.
I didn't take it out, and I got right over and got one of those rocks about the size of a baseball, and I got it in my hand. And I just, Senor, I signed the paper. And he couldn't believe his eyes. He couldn't believe. I didn't see he was sweating. He was tired of it. And when he beat over the papers, I came up with that rock, and I hit him in the head. He went down like a pole-axed ox.
Right.
He hit that ground thump.
One shot.
Oh, right. Well, I felt it cave in when he hit him. So he hit him hard. He'd been hitting me hard.
And what happened then?
Well, I took off and I ran out of them bally shoes.
Really?
And it was, I guess, 50 yards away was a bank where the bulldozer had pushed those hides and cow hides and bones sticking out of it and vines. And I ran, and it was dry, and it was red dirt. And those guys all opened up with their pistols. I didn't even talk about it. And the dirt was popping up, pop, pop, pop. And just as I got to that, I jump over it, a little machine gun, one of them submachine guns opened up, and it just cut the foliage right above my head. Most people do shoot high with those things if they don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
And I jumped, and a vine caught me right across the nose there and crushed it. You see the dent to this day.
Yeah.
And when it did, my feet kept going and my head come back and I hit the ground on the other side. I hit hard and it made me think, and I went, oh, oh, oh. Well, they thought they'd shot me. I felt like a wounded dog.
Yeah.
And I scurried away and got away through the jungle.
Because for people that don't know, we'll get into this later, but like you've also been quite an escape artist, right?
Well, you just go, not no artist to it. If you go when they blink their eyes, when you got some kind of a chance, you can, in Kentucky, you're 50 or 70 years old, they just don't think of it.
Yeah, but you're being humble. There's some artistry to it.
Well, no, I think that anybody could do it.
No,
if you would just do it.
Some people are dumb, Roger. some people aren't
And
smart.
some people look so bad till they're careful with them.
Yeah.
They handcuff them and tie them and chain them to something. I look innocent.
Yep.
Like the custom officer when they all come running with their guns when they come through, and he just shook his head. He said, "You know what I can tell about the man in front of me?" I said, "No, sir. What is it?" He said, "His approximate height."
Right. So you
he
escaped.
Yeah.
Basically. Okay. So that's one of many escapes.
So then I didn't ever go back to Mexico again.
Right.
That's when I said, so twice the DEA tried to kill me. Twice they sicked the Mexican federales on me, and I got hurt both times.
I was going to say, man, Mexico seems to have caused you nothing but pain and trouble.
Well, the Mexicans seem to be pretty good, and I love Mexico.
No,
When you get back behind those doors in America, and they arrest you, it looks just like it does behind the doors in Mexico.
Oh,
it's filthy and dirty and mean.
Yeah, no, I know that, but I mean more in the sense of like, you know, you're getting shot at, you're getting picked up, I got
shot at in America.
Tortured. Yeah, actually, that is fair.
Got shot at wherever I was
fair.
in Germany.
Mate, you can stick your head out the window, you get a couple of shots shot at you. All right, good. So you're done with Mexico at that point.
Yep, that did it.
See, done. You said that's enough
went
Mexico for me.
I went down to Colombia and looking for some work.
Can I just tell you what's the funniest thing?
Pardon? Looking for some work.
No, you describe going down to Colombia looking for work like I would describe going down the road looking for a coffee. Like I'll be back in a minute. I'm just gonna go duck out and see the cartel.
Exactly
see what's going on. I'll be right back, honey. You stay there.
Yeah.
Keep the kettle warm. I'm just gonna duck out to Colombia, see the cartel, but I'll be back. Don't worry. It speaks volumes to the magnitude of what you've done. To be fair. All right, so
Now, in between that,
yeah.
I went around the world with a shrimp boat and picked up a load of hashish out of Pakistan, took it around across the Pacific into British Columbia, unloaded it, put it on a float plane and flew it down to Washington State.
Yeah.
Did that. I hooked up with this guy, I think later on. Yeah, but I did that in the meantime.
So it's just like a bit of in between careers, people have a hobby.
That's right. I went and did
so
that.
your in between career hobby was a little bit of hashish smuggling, as you do.
It wasn't worth the trip.
Man, that pilot's license has brought you a life of stories, man, and a life of. I mean, look. By the way, I said this at the start, and I'm sorry for anyone if I'm stuttering a little bit. I'm running on very minimal sleep, but I could still sit here with you for 8 hours. So, I would come here on no sleep. But we were talking out the front, and I said, don't know why, I don't know what the reason is, but the last 4 guests that I've had on have all got movie deals. So Paramount, Netflix, and Disney. And there's a 5th one who's going to get a movie deal. I just want to put it on record that I don't think it's a matter of if, I just think it's a matter of when and who. So when being like when your movie is going to be made, and who meaning like who's going to get it. We don't have to go into detail, but I just want to put this on record because I do believe that there's some aura going around at the moment, and I think yours is going to be coming up soon. Do you want to touch on that, or do you want to park that one for now?
Oh, absolutely.
Who do you think's going to pick it up?
I'm looking for a movie deal.
Who do you think's going to get it?
Oh, I have no idea. Apple, we had Arranged Media tied me up for 2 years with Apple, and the writers didn't do a good enough job, so Apple rejected it just recently. So now I'm free.
You're on the market.
Free to go.
I'm going to clip that. I'm going to send it to some movie people. And after the podcast, I've got an introduction for your beautiful wife for that book, because I think that's going to happen as well. Putting that on record. Now,
well, let me one more.
Yeah, shoot. What's the other one?
Let me think of what his name. Jess Zimbalist.
Right.
That did the documentary what is it, Marty?
Skywalkers.
Skywalker, a love story.
Okay.
It wants me to go to South Africa.
Yeah.
And Marion do a love story between us, about us.
I honestly, I'd be just as interested, if not more, in that. And that's one of my favorite parts of this podcast. And I do mean that because, Murray, have you seen how his face lights up when he talks about you? I mean, who wouldn't you've made me believe in true love, like really. And I said this to you when I first met you guys, like my pop was with my nan for 50 plus years as well. And when she passed away, he never remarried. And he was like a father figure to me because I didn't really have many role models. And I'm seeing you guys together. It's just, I don't know, it makes me feel like I'm back at home because they're not here anymore. But just to see that love story, it really means a lot to me. So thank you for sharing that part with me as well, off topic. Yeah, audience, that's just a little private moment you can share with us and the family here. All right, so you have your break, a little bit of hashish, in between. You're done with Mexico at this point. Now, do you want to go to Colombia in this part of the story?
Let's go to Colombia.
Let's go to Colombia. All right. So we're going to duck down to Colombia. Now, who was the first? Because Pablo Escobar wasn't the first one that you met. You met the Ochoas first. Is that correct?
I went down and, there's a lawyer came to my house in Santa Barbara, and an old guy named Cameron, an old airplane broker that I'd bought some airplanes from, and they said that they had 60 tons coming up on a freighter and wanted to know if I would unload it. I said, sure, I'll unload it. Well, we need $65,000 to buy the fuel because the last time it come up, there was nobody there to unload it. So I put that much on any time. So I give them the $65,000. Well, you know what?
Yeah.
They didn't come back.
Right.
And no freighter came. So I went down to Colombia to see this lawyer. That's the only one that had an address. And so he took me over to the Davilas, Santa Marta, and we went up, mules, donkeys up there by Minca. We went up that mountain. There's snow on it. And just as beautiful place as any on earth. And I guess there was 400 or 500 mules and donkeys in that pen. You lassoed the one you wanted, you went and got it. And I picked out the most beautiful golden 3 ton. No, I believe I had 1 ton that time. And I picked it out and put my name on it for what they owed me.
Right.
So I went home and got the airplane, and that's when the feds put the metal in the shape in it. Yep. Then I had to wait and get a new engine. So I was a little time getting down there. It took a couple of weeks. And I got down there, and I went on the runway, and it was on the side of a hill. And one of the Davilas met me, and we had a few drinks. We sat by the fire in the cabin. And the next morning, I went out and get in the airplane, and it was filled with paper bags of dry, little curled up stuff. Oh, no, right. I didn't even get anything like I had was promised. And I almost raked it out.
Yeah.
But I said, I might pay for the gas. Let me take it home with me.
Right.
So they wanted like $50,000 on top of what I was owed. So I flew it in, and the first person seen it, they gave me $350 a pound. That's $700,000 for that load of trash. It must have smoked really well. I didn't know what good stuff. It must have been little buds.
Yeah, yeah.
Anyhow, they come up their money, and I said, listen, that's just trash, and you'll know you put it in. And you take your half and go. No, they didn't want the half. What do you? I said, take this $10,000 and go away.
Yeah.
So they did. So he said, come to. I have somebody to introduce you to.
Okay.
So I went back down. I needed another load. And he said, let's go to Medellín, Colombia. I have to end somewhere. So we flew in from Bogota and flew right down. I think it was one of the most dangerous airports in the world. The wingtip nearly touching buildings coming through that mountain. At that time, the old runway in Medellín, it was dangerous, no lie.
Right.
So 707s was landing in there. So we went to an apartment building, a condo, I guess 20 floors up, and just had all glass. And there was a man in there that looked like Winston Churchill, spoke about 15 languages, and he was drunk. And in through the door, and he said he had plenty of cocaine by the tons. And he paid $5,000 a key to haul it. So while I was there, in Indian-looking woman, high-stepping with cheekbones and rabbit fur all over and rabbit fur boots, and She come, kissed him on cheek. She didn't pay us any attention. And he's asking her, where you going, Sonia? I'm going to Miami to buy an airplane. Well, this lawyer was with me, and he said, Roger has an airplane for sale. He don't know nothing.
Right.
He just don't miss a trick.
Yeah.
So, oh, what kind of airplane do you have? I said, I have a Queen Air. Oh, Queen Air.
Yeah.
It's just, she liked the idea. I want something. I'm the queen. I want a Queen Air. Stupid woman. So anyhow, unbelievable. So how much you want for that airplane? And old Roberto's going over there like this.
Yeah.
I think I bought it for $50,000. The wings had come off for several of them at the time, and nobody wanted them. But there was some hose that was catching on fire, and I think for a few dollars I had them fixed. And they was all right airplanes, Beechcraft King Air. So I sold it to her for $300,000. Okay, if I like it, I buy it.
Yeah.
And I said, well, you know, it's a pretty good piece down here. It's going to cost some gas. Give the man $5,000, Miguel. That was her little bodyguard. So he gave me $5,000. I called this friend of mine, and he brought it down.
Was she the wife or the?
Pardon?
What was her role? Like who?
She was a black widow of Bolivia. I'm getting to it.
Right. Oh, okay, go. Please.
I'm coming to it.
No, okay. No, I know this one. Keep going. This is good.
Sonia de Attila. Her husband was a race course champion there of South America, race, NASCAR, whatever.
Right.
So I flew down, and she liked it. So we flew out where the show had just died on that island out there. So we flew out there, and there's a casino, and she played a little bit. They said, you want your money, you got to go to Santa Cruz, Bolivia. All right. So we loaded up with her entourage and set it out for Santa Cruz, Bolivia. And we landed, and the police and whoever's met her, and they kissed her on 10 cheeks and all this. And they had the little limousine with the flags flying. We got in it, went through town with the sirens blowing for her.
Really? Yeah. She was that powerful?
Oh, she was boss.
Because a lot of people, you know who they're going to think of when I say Black Widow. They're going to think of, what was her name?
Well, that comes afterwards. Now she's in power, you see.
Oh, so this is the original Black Widow.
I don't know who's original, but that's the only one I ever heard of.
Okay.
I think you might have been
It's
talking
your
about
original
Amalda also was
Griselda.
Yeah. Whatever, Blanco, yeah.
And how ruthless was this
anyhow,
Black
let
Widow?
me just this gal here. So anyhow, she introduced me to some people, and they wanted me to fly ether for Noriega, and or for Noriega down, but I wouldn't do it. It's offering $1 million a trip to bring the ether down to the to make the cocaine to process it. But that stuff's really dangerous. If it gets a little tiny hole in it, and it's explosive, and your autopilot sparks somewhere, you go up in like a bomb. I wouldn't do it. So, and they keep it in barrels underwater. It's so dangerous. So now they changed all that, but that's what it was. So I went to her house, and we go out under the big water tanks of Santa Cruz, Bolivia, and out there, kind of almost in the edge of the jungle, is a house. Looks like a mausoleum, all marble, just like marble, big slabs. It has a chain link fence around it with barbed wire all over it. And outside the gate, kind of a barbed wire type gate, was about 10 or 15 people crying and wringing their hands and stopped. So she stopped. What's the matter with you fools? Your lion is eating the baby, senora. What? And she jumped out, and I followed her in the house, and there's a 200-pound mountain lion eating a baby. And head's left and a few guts and a little hand over there. She grabs that bloody-faced mountain lion. Come on, Tommy, come here. And puts him in another room and goes out and cusses them people out. Get out of here, you fool people. Get out of here. I never want to see your filthy, ugly faces again as long as I live. Get out of here. So
it was, correct me if I'm wrong, because I know this story. It was the maid's baby or something?
Maid's baby, yes. And I guess she was mad with me leaving a baby in front of a lion. You are kind of stupid, but I don't want to laugh about that. It's just,
can I ask
just
you,
bizarre.
I was just about to say, I don't know if anyone's ever asked you this, but how do you react to seeing a baby getting killed by a mountain lion at a Colombian Black Widow drug lord's house? How does that feel for you? Or at this point,
it feels like it's time to leave.
That was good. Yeah, you know what? I always say at a party, if a mountain lion starts eating a baby, that's my cue to leave. So yeah, that's I get you now.
But anyway, if you want to read about her and me,
Yeah.
there's a book called "The Big White Lie: The CIA and the Crack Cocaine Epidemic." It got pictures of her in it, and the DEA is asking her about her. Oh, the pilot, yes, you didn't get me in touch with him. And they said, until then, we haven't heard where Roger Reaves was, but he's in more files than Noriega.
What's her full name again?
Her name is Sonia D. Attila.
Sonia D.
And she's now in protective custody here in the United States.
No way.
Oh,
She's still alive.
Pardon?
She's still alive.
Still alive, yeah. She's younger than I am.
Fuck off. She's got life, obviously.
Pardon?
She's got life in jail.
No, she's free. She testified against everybody. So she's free in unwitnessed protection. And she's the one that testified against me and all that. And they said that's when the DEA in that book says that I'm in more DEA files than Manuel Noriega.
Okay, so that's fucking wild. That is wild.
Yeah.
So she could be
next door neighbor.
She could be in the subway while having
Yes,
a sandwich.
Absolutely.
All right. On that topic, this is a little bit tangential, but so there's this obviously this recurring theme of like the DA getting involved, and you know they obviously had some sort of a role in her getting this deal and all the rest. But
yes,
like, how does it feel to know that like you live in a world where your government is actively portraying to stop drug dealing at this time, whilst at the same time getting paid by drug dealers? How do you reconcile the fact that you've gone through all of this, but you've got a government who's getting paid just as corrupt as the people pushing these drugs at the time? Because it's unfathomable to me that, like, I know governments are corrupt, but to be putting people in jail, which it is what it is, but also be getting paid bribes, which they were at that time, like, how does that make you feel?
I don't know that our government would got paid bribe. We had some outlaws in the government that got paid.
I'm talking about the Arkansas stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we know that he was just one rotten individual
Right.
in the government. Our government didn't do it. You go up to Congress and Senate and the police departments of the world and the DEA, those head guys. The one that wrote that book was a head agent with the DEA, and he wrote a deep cover. And he also wrote the book that he told this chapter about me, the Big White Lie, the CIA and the crack cocaine epidemic. So he wrote that, and he was exposing the government, and they tried to kill him. So, but it's not our government doing it. It's individuals.
Yeah, okay, that's a really good view. So you're basically saying you can't tar the entire group with the brush of the dirty ones, but that there are
absolutely,
dirty ones.
Of course, and it's a very small amount. It's like prison guards. Some of them are just demons.
Yeah, that's true.
But that's only 1 or 2%. But that's enough.
That's a good view. That's actually
some of them. There's that many good ones.
Yeah, that's a.
And I think you're going to find it in church.
You're
going to find it in
Roger.
all human beings. Everything. School teachers, how nasty some of them are.
Yeah.
And what loving teaching other ones are. You just have, they get a little authority, a school teacher can be mean to you. I've had it happen.
All right, you've taught me something today. I appreciate that. That makes a lot of sense. Okay, so this woman, Colombian drug lord, so she's out of the, so we're going to go back to, so the mountain lion eats the baby and it's your time to leave. And was she the first one you started doing business with in Colombia?
No, I never did any business with her. I just went to sell that airplane. But I'm just telling you how I met Pablo Escobar and Jorge Ochoa.
Right.
So
do you want to go down that route now?
I'm waiting. This Fernando, that's the drunk that's on the place, and he's got all. So he's still drunk, but he sent me over to his house, Martone's golf course. Lovely people. I mean, brilliant, educated, good people. Now he's got the stuff. She says he'll sober up one day. Roger said he's got more work than we can do. Right. So I was in Belize. And I got a call from her saying, we're having a party over on the Pacific, and for Fernando's birthday, come. There'll be a lot of people there that you'll want to meet.
This was in...
Pardon?
The party was based at...
in Colombia.
Right.
Halfway between Ecuador and Panama.
Okay.
And I didn't realize it, but they had 20 miles of beachfront, and that's where things was happening over there on the Pacific for the Pacific reaching for the marijuana and cocaine thing.
Okay.
So I flew down commercially, and then I got on, if you don't know what a British short is, it's an airline. They make about 42 people, I believe, it holds. And they were just one right after the other leaving Medellín, going over to the coast, landing. And I got on one, and I met a nice, handsome couple, Mario Matilda Sanchez. She was a beautiful woman that spoke several languages, and her husband was a nice, tall fellow there. And we met them on the plane. So I got off the plane and was given a place in the bunkhouse. There was a log house and a river running by it, and it was a pretty place. And that runway was a mile long, and beside it was D8 Caterpillars would track off, $1 million worth of here, $1 million worth there. Airplanes just parked down there up on the side with wasp nests. Those planes got old. They wanted a new one. They'd use that same number without paying that 200 or 300% duty.
Right.
And that's what I said. I could make a fortune just at their trash pile.
Yeah. Right.
Anyway, we went there, and there was houses on stilts for all up high and all painted different colors up and down the beach. And the beach was red where the river had run into it, and the red color had got in it. So I pulled off my shoes, and I'm walking on the beach, and a nice young woman comes along, and she's kind of got on I call it a flour sack dress, a poor clothes. She was just from the poor side of town. She's real sweet and walking along, and she's chatting with me, and she's telling me, I don't know why. I've never ridden in an airplane, but this man, he invited me down. I said, honey, I know why you and I invited down.
Yeah.
You know what.
Yeah.
I mean, I think she was quite innocent. So Matilda said, Roger, she's coming another way. Mario tells me you're walking with the girlfriend of the most vicious killer in Colombia, and he advises you to excuse yourself.
Wow.
I got away from the killer's wife. I'd only walked.
Like a hitman or something like that?
Completely. We all, both of them, nothing. It's like you and I talking, walking along. Hello,
Yeah,
how
of
you
course,
doing?
of course.
Just how you doing, just
Yeah,
nothing.
yeah.
I ain't look trying to steal nobody's girlfriend or
No,
whatever.
I know.
But it wasn't, it was just plain. So that night, wham, that woman comes flying into me while I'm standing there with a drink, my drink, and here's the most vicious killer in the world. He's after me.
Well, because you walked down the beach.
Oh, his friends got around him, bye, and talked him out of there. So,
Yeah.
I went back and met this Mario Matilda, and she had graduated from high school with Jorge Ochoa. So Mario got me in a car, and we went to up a little road in Envigado is the name of the village outside of Medellín, and we come to one of these that has the toll pikes, and the guys there with the guns, and they opened it up, and we drove through and up through the trees and with the bromeliads growing in them and the ferns, and drove up to an old farmhouse, like they call them like a little hacienda of some sort, from really old, 200 or 300 years old. It had a hitch and rail, and there was 30 or 40 men out there in their fedoras waiting to talk to El Jefe. So we ushered right through them, and when we walked in, a really pretty woman says, be careful of the hole in the floor. And we had to step around the hole in the floor, and it was uneven where the earthquakes of the earth had moved the house. But it was beautiful. It was just old. They didn't change it. And she gave us a cup of coffee with one of them little cups you can't get your finger in.
Yeah.
And I went in and was introduced to Jorge Ochoa. And he had 12 telephones on his desk, all of them different color. And I said, what's these telephones for, George? I said, well, if that one rings, I know it's New York, and that one's Seattle, and this one's Chicago, so I know what I'm talking to. And we chatted a little bit, and he asked me what experience I had. He spoke English. And I told him I have more than 100 loads going across the border, and he asked me what airplanes. I said, I got a DC-3, a Beech 18, and an Aero Commander turbojet, so I can do anything. And so he said, we have all the work you can do. And I said, how much you pay? He said, $5,000 a kilo. I said, how much you put in there? And he said, $500 at a time. And it didn't take me long to figure up that's $2.5 million for 8 hours flight in that Aero Commander. So he said, wait right here. So he called the pretty lady, and she went next door and brought back a man in khaki pants, a nice shirt, and introduced me to Pablo Escobar.
Wait, at the same meeting?
Same meeting, yeah. They had offices next to each other in that old house.
So Pablo Escobar had an office next to
He
Ochoa.
had a room next door to the room where Jorge Ochoa was.
How old was he at this time? Roughly, do you think, if you had to guess?
35.
So you met 35-year-old Pablo Escobar.
I think he was younger than I am.
That's I was about to say it's
Somewhere
not far,
about damn same.
not far off my age, really.
Yeah.
Okay. So people are going to want to know this part because, like, obviously, like, there's other elements to his story and how that intertwines with you. But let's just kind of take people into that original meeting. So when Pablo Escobar comes into the room to meet you, how was the energy of that meeting and how was that?
Well, I just see he had normal energy. He didn't vibrate anything special. He didn't speak out of the way. He was gentle and spoke directly and exactly to the point. Like, what's your experience? He spoke Spanish, and I speak enough Spanish to understood exactly what he said. And I told him about the airplanes I had, and it was like, okay, very well. And how many times you come across the border? Yes. And he said, well, we have all the work you can do, and we pay $5,000 a kilo. He told me exactly the same thing Jorge had said. And he said, yeah. I said, how often? He says, as often as you want to. We're waiting on you, senor. That was his words.
So we're waiting on you.
We're waiting on you. We'll be waiting on you. You know, you want to do it every day, do it every day.
Really?
So I don't remember anything special. He had a nice handshake. He had a iron plaid shirt on, khaki pants, and he just looked just like a normal person. He was all right.
It's almost like you feel like you probably met him at the start of, because obviously things go way out of.
He didn't. They weren't making much money whenever I met them.
That's what
I'm much. Of course, they were making money, but they were getting a lot busted going up through. I forget what the German guy's name was, but he had an island up there, and they had all kind of people and guards and all. They wanted to know if I wanted to fly it up there. I'd heard about it. I didn't want anything to do with that circus. Yes.
So you really met him at like the early stage of the whole operation, because like obviously things got a lot bigger. He took on the Colombian government, but like at the point that you'd met him, you're just meeting a 35-year-old startup kind of cocaine empire, but you still are meeting him at the early stage of that empire.
Yes, because that party was when they decided they had almost every police chief from every city in Colombia there.
Right.
They had stand-up comedians. They had a judge that did a striptease. I mean, it was all, and everybody had a bag of cocaine, wanted you to sample it.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Did you try some?
Oh, yeah, I tried some.
What was it like?
I like cocaine, but I don't like myself with it. It's just...
You like what, sorry?
I like it, but I don't... It makes you feel good for a few minutes.
Yeah.
But then you feel worse than that for more than a few minutes. Yes. It's not worth the trade-off.
Yeah.
But it is a nice feeling. And it's not like you're... I don't know if you tried it or not. It's a good feeling. It's a euphoric feeling. And it doesn't... It's not a... Did you know before all this drug war that cocaine was a non-narcotic controlled substance?
Correct, and it was used in
Coca-Colas and all kinds of toothpicks, and it was everywhere.
It's funny because we could go down this conversation for a long time, but I think you and I have the same view on drugs and the war on drugs. And if you, I mean, okay, would you agree that, like, let's say a tobacco company executive would kill more people than a cocaine dealer?
My deal is I was a tobacco farmer killing thousands of people.
Yep.
Come up and sit on the front pew, Mr. Reaves. Hey, go 2 marijuana plants. Get out of here, you scumbag, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Same thing. It's hypocrisy.
It is.
Full on. A lot of things. A lot of man's laws are hypocrisy. They change with the wind. Yep. We got 10 laws of God's, and Jesus added one more, and they don't change. And if we got people abide by them, we wouldn't need a law book.
Yep. I think you and I could talk about this topic all day and agree on every single bullet point, because I agree, man. Like, I think if nobody's dying and there's always going to be demand, and, you know, like, yeah, I think we have a similar view. It's like, it's not as, I don't know, man. I just think it's just not killing people.
Mr. Trump should pardon every single non-narcotic, non-violent drug offender.
Well, remember at the start of the podcast, I said that was something I was passionate about. I was working on a partnership with a charity that would get people out of jail that were non-violent drug offenders, because I felt bad enjoying legal money, knowing that people were in cages like animals. It didn't sit right with me, and I'm sure you've got a similar view on that. But yeah, that was my view. So
absolutely. In some countries, they'll kill you.
And whereas a pedophile can go free.
Oh, I saw murderers come and go.
Yep.
Come in and go out and kill somebody else and come in while I'm still in there.
Yeah.
It's insane.
We should let society vote on sentences. Could you imagine? Because then you'd have all the pedophiles and the murderers going into jail, and the drug dealers. Maybe people say, "Oh, you know." So.
Oh, I remember I was a librarian, and there was an outside woman, nice-looking woman, come in there, and she was just cozying up to me and nice and so nice, and she thought that I was older with the gray hair, that I was a pedophile, and she was just saying, "And what are you in there for, sir?" And I said, "Cocaine." Cocaine, and the teeth came out, and the fingernails came out, and she just almost attacked me right in that library.
What is wrong with people?
If I would have said I was a pedophile, she would have just, "Oh, I know I am too. It's just this and that and the other."
I'll link you to a podcast we did with a survivor of this is really graphic, but like child sex trafficking, and she'll show you the dark sides of the world. It's ugly, man. It's not nice. It's terrible.
I don't even want to see it or think about it.
No,
it's
beyond
disgusting. Something I don't even do. I don't even consider myself a criminal. I'm definitely an outlaw, but I am not. I don't see nobody hurt. I don't see nobody killed. I don't see nobody nothing.
Can I tell you how I know this about you?
What?
Because having gotten to know you over this short period of time, I've observed a few things.
Yeah.
But one thing I observed when I was doing research was, you know, we just talked about your first meeting with Pablo Escobar, but I heard you say that it was the point at which he blew a plane out of the sky and killed a bunch of women and children that you said, "I can't do this anymore."
I'm sorry I ever met him. I'm sorry I ever shook his hand. No, that was after he did that, after I was already in prison. But I'm just, after you hear of somebody doing that, he paid $1,000 a piece to have policemen killed. Well, that's mighty bad, but they were killing his people.
Yeah.
It was down there. There was 3 factions in Colombia at that time when I was working. Was the rebels, the one in the FARC. They owned a lot of the cocaine producing areas, and they owned a third of that. Let's just divide it a third. Now then, you had the white or semi-white farmers, and they called them Contras. They was against the rebels. Then you had the military and the police. They had their deal going too. So once they got to fighting each other,
just war.
It was war.
And
so, but then whenever okay, I don't like nobody getting killed, but all right, in a war, people get killed, and that's just what happened. But to blow an airplane up because you don't want to be extradited out of the United States and kill that many people for just children, and I think it's just as horrible a crime as Hitler or.
Yeah, man. Women and children in a plane is not cool, and I think some people who don't go deep enough into the story don't really understand the horror of that incident, and that was a terror attack as well.
Like, of course it is.
Yeah,
and he should have been staked out over an ant bed until they ate him.
Yeah, yeah. That I think they said that's when he went from being a drug kingpin to a terrorist. Yeah, and that's when
he's a horrible person to do that.
Can I ask? Because my audience is going to bomb me for this. They're going to say, what was the craziest experience you had with him and the cartel that you'd like to share? In terms of, you know, where you'd gotten caught up in something and just thought, how the fuck have I wound up in this?
I didn't have one. All of mine ran just like clockwork, just beautifully.
Really?
It was just like I was running an airline. I went down and, I went down and I said, listen, you're putting me further and further. And then I'd hired Barry. I'd hired 2 people, Jerry Wills and Barry, and they were both, I had 2 airlines running, so it's keeping me busy buying like 6 cars a week to haul that stuff from down. Yeah, we put shock absorbers on them and tires that wouldn't bust and new hoses and great big trunks. And I had 2 people buying cars and fixing them up every week, like at least 6 a week.
So the whole operation with them was quite smooth.
Just smooth as bucks. Well, let me go ahead,
please.
So I would go down and I went down and commercially, and I went in to see Pablo Escobar, and I talked to him, and I said, listen, our runway is too short for these things. So the next time I flew in, they'd been bulldozers and motor graders in, and they was a mile long. And so I had plenty of room to take off with what they had. So that's just what it was. So then they moved those labs way further and further down towards Ecuador, and it was getting too far, and Barry was landing in Mena, Arkansas, where he had that played off, but you know all about that.
Yep.
So I was paying $50,000 every time his wheel landed there.
Right.
But so it just got too far too, because it's already above Louisiana, another 300 miles or whatever. So I went to see him again. So I was flying at that time. So when I landed, a helicopter landed there. It was a banana plantation, and Pablo got out of the helicopter with a tall blonde fella, blue-eyed, and he introduced me to him, and he said, "Go where he tells you to." So they loaded up the 500 kilos, and this man, Benjamin, got in the plane.
Pablo said go where they tell you to?
He told me to go where he tells you to.
Okay.
So we went to Nicaragua and landed at the military base. And this Benjamin, he introduced me to the general in charge of it and all the people there. And so I all right. They said, come in here anytime you want to. Just remain radio silent. Don't say a word. Don't worry about it. Just look and come in. So that was the time I met him. That was just professional. Another time the runway was long enough. So they were professional. No, I didn't have any trouble with none of that.
What was because you mentioned to me earlier where you had some blood splattered all over you.
That was at that meeting where we landed on the runway and all that, when all the 300 people. Well, I think Sunday afternoon the airline started flying the imported people out, and us people that were just entertainers and me. I was looking for work.
Yeah.
I was left behind.
Yeah.
And so I got me some barbecue and a plate, and I went back and was laying in a hammock under a tree.
Yep.
And I was reading the book MMK, The Far Pavilions. I don't know why I had that, and I remember it.
Yeah.
And I'm just laying about to doze off, and I just sitting there thing, and pow, pow, right at my ear, and blood spattered all on that book. I know some got on me. And I rolled out of that hammock. I must have rolled 20 feet before I stopped rolling.
Yeah.
It was close. I mean, just like me and you.
Who got shot?
I looked up, and there was a black man that was taking a pistol out of a white man's hand. He was a young black boy, 20, 25 years old. Handsome young black man. And this 60-year-old Colombian, he just tore that pistol out of his hand, great big pistol, and put it between his eyes and went click, 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 click. There was no more bullets in it. And he had shot him in the leg, and the femoral artery was cut in two, and blood was gushing out. And there was a bulldog, looked like, he was a white bulldog with a black thing, looked like something Amos and Andy. And that bulldog had been shot in the head, and that bulldog had been flipping. And that's where the blood was slung on me from that bulldog flipping.
Jesus Christ.
So the white man took off, and the black man was going backwards, and I says, I can help you. I'm a doctor. I can save you.
Yeah.
And he put that gun at me, and I might have had one more in it. But I said, I told him in Spanish, you're going to bleed to death. Come on, I can stop it.
Yep.
And he hobbled on off, and the guy Mario came out and spoke real good Spanish. Said, come on, let him do it. I could have cut that down and plugged that artery just like that.
Yep.
I was a paramedic, not a paramedic, but I run rescue in Los Angeles on the fire department.
Yep.
So I had a little bit of training, but it didn't take none to stop that.
But
he went on down there and died.
I was about to say.
So then you had an old crone come, blah, 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 you white folks, you gonna get it.
Yeah.
So that night, we all kind of, Matilda had a 38, I believe, in her purse, and I stayed close to her. And you could hear those people crying and carrying on down there. It was a black community under them trees. And the white people had been treating them bad, and they was telling us what they was going to do. And the lights went out. And I went out there to the generator. It's full of sand and water.
Yeah.
So we got little cans and put some oil in it and a tiny bit of gasoline and put little wicks around. And we stayed all night long. We could hear all that noise going. And the next day, the runway was covered with barrels and trees and stuff. You couldn't get out anyhow. It took us another day before we got that squared away. That was another story in the book.
Boy, yeah, man. I'm gonna link all this after the podcast. Also, just so you know, we've just blasted 2 hours. Just so you know, this felt like 5 minutes.
Is this 2 hours?
We just blasted an hour and 50 minutes. I always say, it's a good chat when it's been an hour. Like When 2 hours feels like 5 minutes, you know it's been a good chat.
Oh, wow.
And just for the audience, when I'm stuttering, I've been in Los Angeles, I've been in Arizona, I've been in Miami, Florida, and I've done 1, 2, 3, 4, and we've done 5 podcasts by tonight. So I promise you I'm not special needs. I'm just sleep deprived. But having said that, this has literally been one of the best chats I've had the pleasure of having. And even more so, man, like honestly, just to be able to meet you and your beautiful family, like that really means a lot. And thank you for bringing your wife with you as well. You're now in the peaceful chapter of life. You know, things are good. You're happy. You got your beautiful grandchildren. What do you want life to look like for the next 5 to 10 years for you? And, what do you want people to remember?
All I want in this creation, for a little girl on a big plantation, little boy to call me Papa every day.
Oh, that's beautiful. It sounds like you've got everything you were looking for then. And you happy?
I'm really happy. I'm blessed. I'm 82 years old. Don't take any medicine. Feel good.
Mate, you're sharp as a tack too. And people don't know, you do your weights every day as well?
Yeah, I do.
You still doing your push-ups?
Do my push-ups.
Yeah? How many are you pumping out each morning?
I can pump out 100 without stopping.
Bullshit.
Yeah.
Yeah? Our little producer over there is looking at you because he's probably even struggled with 100.
Most people struggle with 100. That was my crutch. And I do 130 in prison almost every day at one set. And then they'd have the push-up contest, and chin up and all that.
Yeah.
I would win it and get the 6 Coca-Colas as my trophy. I wouldn't let anybody touch them.
I'm probably going to need to do some in between this podcast and the next one so I can keep my cognitive as sharp as yours because, yeah, man. I mean, listen, it's been an absolute pleasure. We do have another special one that we're going to do tomorrow at lunch before you guys leave. All right. That one's going to be fun because what we're going to do when we have we always have good guests, but when we have ones that get ultra popular in the comment section, obviously we can't be in there responding to everyone. So what we do, we pull out a few interesting questions, we bounce them back and forth. That normally gets some good stories out as well. So we'll capture some really good content there. And as I said, man, my job, I have the best job in the world. I'm basically just building time capsules, and to be able to capture a small piece of yours is a real privilege for me. And thank you so much for coming out here. I hope our audience has enjoyed it. I hope you've enjoyed it. And we'll talk.
I hope you do, and I hope we get to Australia tomorrow.
What?
I hope we get to Australia tomorrow.
You coming?
My trip to Australia.
Oh yeah, of course. Will we let you in? Hey, do you want to know something funny?
What?
I'll tell you off camera, but there was another wild guy. He's got a few charges. We helped get his visa negotiated and got him into the country. So if we can get him in, I'm sure I can get you in as well.
All right.
And do you know what's funny?
No, I'm talking about, we haven't told about my trip to Australia.
So that one's for tomorrow as well.
That's right.
Yeah. Do you want another trip to Australia? Because I can get you over if you want.
Oh, good,
yeah,
good.
But you're going to have to negotiate with the government. That's the
I
only
can
problem.
go after 5 years. You can go back.
Yeah?
I'm free now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you know what's funny? One of the sponsors of our podcast, he's coming over in September. So maybe I could talk to him. We could negotiate a bit of a trip out. That'd be good.
Wonderful.
Down under.
Let's do it.
Listen, Roger Reaves, I knew it was going to be good. You've exceeded my expectations. It's been a pleasure. And I can't thank you enough for your time.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Pleasure. There we go. How do we do? 10 out of 10. Oh, dude.